As the centennial of the Tulsa Race Massacre draws near, there's a renewed interest not just in the massacre itself, but also in the vibrant history of Greenwood and Black Wall Street in the years before and after that terrible event. A new exhibit called Faces of Greenwood, a Timeline Experience, opened last weekend in the Greenwood Chamber of Commerce West Building in the heart of this historic neighborhood.
So this will be 1915, and then of course the massacre is here. This is to educate everyone who comes to Greenwood with a tangible example of the breadth of history that is Black excellence in Oklahoma.
Tulsa educator and artist Lincoln Cochran created the timeline over the course of 6 weeks last winter. The experience begins in 1890, 3 decades before the 1921 massacre.
We are standing here on Creek Nation territory. These lands were allotted to freedmen at the beginning, and that is how it kind of began to grow as a city within a city, if you will. You begin all the way at the end at 1890, and you literally walk through time all the way here to where we're standing in 2020. You can see the 80s behind me right there. And you literally walk and you view the story of Tulsa, the story of Greenwood, the story of Black Wall Street.
The vibrance of a prosperous neighborhood juxtaposed with the horror of 1921 and the racism of the Jim Crow era. It's all here, the good, the bad, and all of it equally important to remember.
It's really kind of heavy to deal with, and that's why we've included so many of the amazing things about our history too.
That came afterwards, right?
Exactly, exactly.
The timeline ends where a second exhibit begins. 120 remarkable photographs on loan from the University of Tulsa's McFarland Library.
We know that the earliest photographs start in about 1922 because one of the pictures of the car actually shows its license plate. I know the latest one is probably from the 40s.
Mark Carlson is TU's Director of Special Collections and an expert on the history of the Greenwood neighborhood.
As bad as everything was, the folks of Greenwood were extremely resilient. They were able to come back, those who did come back and remain, and actually try to continue to rebuild their lives. The history of Greenwood is much more than simply a very important 18 hours, but it was an extremely long history of people living in a community.
Randall Studios, so is that who's taking all of these photos?
No, the Randall Studios are the people who are developing the photos.
Okay, so who took them all?
Probably the people, some of the people in the pictures. This is from a scrapbook. These are snapshots and just people documenting their lives like we do today with our phones.
Carlson doesn't know who the people in these photographs are, a mystery that he hopes this public display might help solve.
That's one of the things I'm kind of hoping this exhibit will help with, is if anybody actually recognizes any of these people. I need clues to be able to identify them. And if the families actually come forward and say, yeah, those are our pictures, I'll make sure they get copies.
So take a good look, or better yet, come down and see for yourself.
This will be up through the celebrations of the centennial. And then at the end of that, we hope to move it somewhere new.
The timeline experience and photographs are open to the public on a limited basis on Saturdays between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. The cost is $7 per person, and you can book your time to visit at eventbrite.com.